Hey, baby, where are we?
Well, we are in an absolutely gorgeous location. It's really hard for me because I want to turn around and look behind me.
Yeah. Where are we? Tell everybody where we're at.
We're at Sylvan Lake in Custer State Park in the Black Hills of South Dakota.
We've got a special one for you guys today. We've got a ranger from the state of South Dakota coming on the show, and we're going to talk all about Custer State Park today.
And everything that you want to see and do in this beautiful place.
That's right. So put your seatbelt on.
Because here we go.
Did you know that 46 million Americans plan to take an RV trip in the next 12 months? 90% of recreational vehicle owners take 3 or more mini vacations every year. Welcome to the RV Destinations Podcast. If it's RV travel, we're talking about it. From campgrounds to museums to national and state parks, kayaking and hiking opportunities. One of the most fun and pleasurable things you can do is just hit the road. So be ready to be inspired. Welcome in to the RV Destinations Podcast. Now your host, President Randy Beheimer and Editor-in-Chief, Caly Beheimer.
Hello, everybody. We'd like to welcome you guys out. We're here in the beautiful, incredible Custer State Park.
Yes.
Look what's behind you. I'm looking at Sylvan Lake right behind you. This is just an incredible place.
I can't see.
Yeah, we're so super excited. We've got a guest here today. We'll introduce her in a moment, but we also just got a copy of our newest magazine. This just hit the mail last week, so if you're a subscriber, you'll be getting that in the mail very, very soon. Actually, by the time this airs, you'll probably have it in have it in your hands. But anyway, so as I said, we're here in Custer State Park. We got a special guest. Caly, do you want to introduce our special guest?
I do. Hi, Lydia.
Hi.
This is Lydia Austin. She is the Visitor Services Supervisor here at Custer State Park. Well, no, South Dakota? How does this work? Because Randy earlier said, of course, the wind just now starts. There was zero wind until you literally hit the record button. This is your fault.
It feels good.
Well, for you. Yes, I'm freezing. But so do you work for South Dakota as a whole and then...
Yes.
Okay.
So we are a South Dakota state park. So both of you are actually correct with that. So I work for the state of South Dakota.
Okay. All right. And what is your role here at the park?
I am the Visitor Services Supervisor. So within my umbrella, I have the visitor centers, the entrance gates, the admin, so the visitor services side of the park. So
yes. You're here to make us happy.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. That's a really good role.
But also you said you're a biologist as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, I actually went to school to be a biology teacher. And then my senior year, I made my parents really proud and went and worked at Custer State Park and realized I could be an outside teacher and changed my whole career path and got into the National Park Service and ended up back at Custer State Park.
Yeah, because we were talking offline. You said you're originally from Northern Montana.
Northern Montana, yeah. Like we were kind of talking earlier, my family's from South Dakota. My grandfather actually worked here at Custer State Park. My parents were the oddballs and moved to Montana to get away from South Dakota. But we did a family reunion every 2 years here in Custer State Park because he worked here. And so I grew up here as a kid. And when a seasonal job opened up, I came back. And that was actually my grandfather's last year with us. So he got to show us everything in the park. And I stayed here seasonally and then went and got in the national park system, bounced around and ended up back here, which was the coolest thing ever.
That's awesome.
That's so cool. Your grandpa, I know, has to be so proud.
He was. He was really proud of it all. And it was fun to hear his stories when he was young and got to experience the park and see it through his eyes. And then share that with my coworkers, and then now watch my kids experience the same things we did. They think this park was built for them. So yes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
What an incredible park. I mean, this really is. And we were talking offline. I'm like, I'm just absolutely shocked this is not a national park because it's on the level of a national park as far as the beauty and everything.
The size.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it is. A lot of people comment on that we operate like a national park. They're surprised we're not a national park. But we are a state park. South Dakota will keep us as a state park. We're kind of their crown jewel. To become a national park, like we were talking, would have to go through Congress with South Dakotans' approval.
Right, right. In fact, we just released a podcast today, a video podcast today, where we were talking about our favorite destinations across the U.S. She picked Custer State Park as her favorite, and that was filmed like months ago. So not even the fact that she was here.
Yeah.
But we've been here. This is our fourth time.
For
Fourth or
you,
fifth?
fourth.
Okay.
I think for me, third.
Yeah,
I think
just
it's third time for me.
in fact, we bought a brand new motorhome and drove it. This was our first trip out here. We stayed up in Deadwood.
We did.
That
Yeah,
was
it
our first initial trip.
Yeah, back in 2018.
No, so I think one of the number one comments we get too is there's not enough time to do everything in the park. So people always keep coming back and learning something new each time.
Right.
It really, like when I was going through this top 10 and looking at everything, some of the things Randy and I have done, a lot of the stuff we haven't. Like there was some surprising things on this list that I was like, I had no idea that was in the park.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty excited to talk about that.
Well, we talk about the one where we went and had dinner, and that was amazing. That was such a great experience.
Had
We
no
loved
idea
that.
that
We'll
was
talk
here.
about that. That's on the top 10. But we got some questions. So we asked some
We
of our
do.
listeners and some of our subscribers to send us in questions to ask Lydia here. And so you've got a couple of questions, right?
I do. So Shelby from El Paso wants to know, what is that fort outside of the West Gate?
Oh, that's a great question. That actually has a lot of history to not only Custer State Park, but the Black Hills. That is the Gordon Stockade, one of the original structures here in the Black Hills. We, let's see where you start with that. It starts with a long history ago. It's part of the Fort Laramie Treaty of 1868. It set aside the Great Sioux Reservation, which was a huge tract of land in Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, Wyoming, and Montana. And it was set aside for the tribes. No one could enter it. As I always say, it's that fine print in the government documents you got to read as well. Right. And so no one knew about it, and they said no one could come in except for governments on government business. And so that's where Custer enters. That's where you see his name a lot throughout here. We are not the site of the Battle of Little Bighorn. We are where Custer came and did some work for the military. He came out and mapped the area. They wanted to know what was out here. They had heard rumors, and they just wanted to know. So he brought out map makers, geologists, photographers, newspapermen, the whole gamut. They came out of North Dakota, came from the northern hills, and just mapped and explored the area and ended up down at the Gordon Stockade, which is west of town. And they did a little bit of gold panning there, and they found a little bit of gold. But as the story goes, you find a little bit. But by the time the news got a hold of it, you could walk through the Custer area and pick up nuggets off the ground, walk your horses through the streams, and their legs would be covered in gold.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah.
And at that time, they were in a recession, so everyone back east heard that and immediately came, whether the rules said they could or couldn't. And the military tried to keep them out, but the Gordon Party was the first to sneak through the lines. They set up that stockade in December and stayed here for a couple months till the military found them and escorted them back to Fort Laramie, but they were the tip of the iceberg, and it changed the whole history of the hills and the politics of the hills and led to where we are today.
Wow,
Yeah, that's great.
incredible.
Yeah.
And just that tiny little fort out there, and that's what's amazing, because we're out that gate entrance exit, our RV park is, and so we literally drive by it all the time.
So you're in the valley there. So that whole valley is where Custer would have camped with I want to say like 1,000. Don't quote me on that, anybody, but there was a lot of people in that whole valley there.
So that would explain the signs I saw on the trail. It said the Custer something area. And I'm like, it gave me no other information other than that. I'm like, well, they must have been here.
Yep. And that's why it's here. And that's what led to the Custer Forest, to cut the city of Custer to Custer State Park. So there's the whole gamut of why we have our name. We weren't associated with the Battle of Little Bighorn. But that is the whole reason that name is prominent in this area.
Gotcha. And we're staying at Custer Gulch Campground, and they didn't sponsor the show or anything like that, but it's really a nice park. We really enjoy it. We're set amongst trees, but not enough to where we can't get our Starlink to work. We know our RVers love our Starlink, so you got to get a good shot at the sky. But yeah, okay, so that's a good answer. So next question.
Okay, so Jack from Brunswick, Georgia wants to know, what is the best time of year to visit the park?
Oh, that is a great question. We are open year round.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so it kind of depends on what you're looking for. Summer obviously is a beautiful time. You're going to be sharing it with a lot of people. Yeah. So if you come in the summer, come with a dose of patience and a smile. But that's when everything's open. You get to see everything, and all the amenities surrounding towns are open. Fall and spring, I really enjoy, because things are either just starting to wake up or they're just starting to close down, but it's a little bit slower and still plenty to do. But winter is excellent. Winter is quieter. Sometimes you feel like you have the park to yourself. You get to see the park in a different view. One of the great ones is we shut down the Needles Highway, so a lot of people hike the highway, which I think is a great way to experience the spires and everything. And so it is really what you're looking for. Places stay open. So if you do bring your RV and it's ready for South Dakota winter, that's available. Or the cabins, our resorts here have the cabins open. There's a lot to do yet.
Yeah, I was out here.
Yeah.
What was that? 4 years ago, 3 years ago?
I think it probably about 4 years ago, like in January.
So our motorhome needed to be serviced, and a great time to get into Winnebago out in Iowa is in the wintertime because nobody wants to get their RVs
Who wants
worked
to
on.
go to Iowa?
So I drove the RV out there, pulling our truck, and dropped it off with my neighbor, my 62 3-year-old neighbor, said, "Hey, I want to do this." So we dropped that off, hopped in our car, and went to Deadwood, and we stayed in Deadwood, but then we drove down here and did kind of a hike around the lake here. And we were the only ones here, and it was like in the middle of the day. So definitely, I'm sure the crowds are much, much less in February.
Kids are swimming in the lake that time of year.
Oh, and it was cold. It was. We actually ended up doing some snowmobiling down in Spearfish down in the canyon. And,
that's an excellent opportunity up there as well.
Yeah,
Yes.
gorgeous down there. So. Next question.
Yeah, so this is actually for Gwendolyn Call because her kids wanted to know, how long do bison live?
Oh, that's a good question. Here in the park, our bison tend to live, if they're staying in the park, early 20s. We did have a cow make it to 28.
Wow.
She was one of our oldest, so that's the high end there. But those early 20s is a good average rate here in Custer State Park. They don't have a lot of natural predators or anything here, so that's our age for that group.
That's really interesting. That's really cool. It's kind of like a horse.
It's kind of like a horse.
Kind of like a horse.
Would you say they live longer naturally out in the wild? I don't think you said that, but
No, I want to say it's about the same age.
Okay.
For out in like Yellowstone or those types of parks.
Yeah.
I want to say that again. Don't quote me on that one, but that is your average age for that.
Okay.
We do move the animals if they're no longer producing calves or siring calves. They will either go to auction or hunt. As I say, is they have to be working parts of the park. So,
right.
But if they make it to 20. They get a free pass.
Okay, cool.
So,
cool.
yeah.
That's cool. Good for them.
So I told you I wouldn't drop any surprise questions on you, but I'm going to do this because you said you're a biologist, so you shouldn't know this, I think. Maybe not. So what's the difference between a bison and a buffalo?
Oh, that is a great question. We get that a lot, especially out west, because buffalo is integrated into the culture out west. The true scientific name of the animal is bison. So that is the scientific name. Bison and buffalo are both common names. So neither one is wrong. Bison leans a little bit more towards the scientific name. But buffalo comes from when the French came over. They saw le boeuf. And then us Americans did a great job of turning that into buffalo. But that is, out here in the Western culture, it is a buffalo.
Okay.
Okay.
But again, neither's wrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I was told apparently wrong that like certain areas, like these are bison. Like in America, they're bison, but over here, they're buffalo.
And what they're talking about is water buffalo. So a water buffalo is a true buffalo, and that's what you're going to see in Africa. And our animals are not even
We're not
remotely
close.
on that tree. And so that's where that conversation comes in, is like, hey, like a water buffalo is over here. Well, yes, but we have a different branch that we went off with that name.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And our last question is from Jean from Mainville, Ohio. And she wants to know the difference between a hoodoo and a spire, because spires are here in this park, right?
Yes.
Do you have any hoodoos here?
No.
Okay.
No. So hoodoos are going to be Bryce
Bryce
Canyon.
Canyon,
Okay. Points for me. Okay. Bryce Canyon. And those are going to be your sedimentary rocks. And so they're more loosely compacted, erode more easily. And that behind us are the spires. These are igneous rocks, they're granite. And so completely different formations.
Takes a little bit longer to erode.
Takes a little bit longer to erode. Yes.
Yeah, all right.
Very cool. Very cool.
All right, so I've got some fun facts here. This is something we usually do, Lydia. I hope you don't mind, and feel free to interject if there's anything that is wrong or inaccurate, please. 'Cause
Like wrong.
Everything on the internet's true, right?
Everything.
Do I get a buzzer?
Yeah.
Wrong.
Well, I think I pulled them from credible sources, but I'm not sure. But before I start on the fun facts, I found on blackhillsbadlands.com they described Custer State Park beautifully, and I wanted to read that for a moment.
Okay.
I won't spend much time here, but Custer State Park stands out as a marvel with its unique blend of ecological diversity and geological formations. Home to the famous Needles Highway, it offers a scenic drive like no other, winding through eye-catching tunnels and past towering they said past. It's supposed to be past, P-A-S-S. So I might send them a letter. So passing towering granite spires. The park's Sylvan Lake is another gem, providing serene views perfect for the contemplation or leisurely paddling in the summer months. Wildlife enthusiasts will revel in the opportunity to witness the park's bison herds, an iconic symbol of the American West, roaming freely across the sweeping plains. I thought that kind of summarized Custer State Park beautifully. I really did.
Yeah.
So I couldn't have written it any better.
You could not have.
Actually, we know Randy does it right. Randy takes the pictures.
Yes.
But all right, so Custer State Park fun facts. It was founded on July 1st, 1919. They're getting ready to celebrate their 105th anniversary next week, actually.
Yes.
And there's over 71,000 acres of rugged mountains and rolling grass hills.
Yes,
that
is
pretty
correct.
accurate? Okay.
Yeah. So
And I really thought this was interesting. In 1914, 36 bison were brought into the state to start the herd. Or not brought into the state, brought into the park to start the herd, and now it's home to over 1,500 bison, or around 1,500.
that is correct. That's our capacity. It's going to be 1,500, so we won't go more than that. So
Now, why is that? The it
We're
can't
gonna
handle.
talk about that in
Okay,
the
she's
she's a
cut me
player.
off. that happens every show. So
All the
don't-
time.
Kind of tying into that, because you just rattled off 2 dates, and for the listeners out there, is we became a state park in 1919, but
Okay.
our area was already designated as a protection area in 1912 as a game sanctuary.
Oh, gotcha.
Because like we were talking off air, parks weren't a thing then. National park system wasn't a thing.
Sure.
And so creating a park was kind of weird. But a sanctuary to South Dakotans, that made sense. Where we're bringing wildlife back, we're introducing the game species, and that's what we started doing. And then in 1919, he got it convinced, Norbeck got it convinced to become a state park. And that's the history of that.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about Peter Norbeck, if you don't mind, just so the listeners know who that is, because I know that's another one of my fun facts coming down the line here.
Yeah, so Peter Norbeck was a South Dakota governor, a state senator, and a U.S. senator for South Dakota. And he loved this area. Came out here in 1905 with a couple friends in a Cadillac and got broke down somewhere in here. I don't know how and why they were on these non-existent roads. But he knew this area was special and wanted to designate it and save it for future generations so they could see it how he saw it. And he worked tirelessly to do that. There's a lot of politics and stories behind it. If anyone's ever interested, look it up. It's really cool. But he did get us designated in 1912. And then he brought the buffalo in. I believe he had to trade some votes for prohibition for the buffalo, and so it was booze for bison. Was the slogan.
I love it.
So
I need that on a T-shirt.
yeah,
That'd be a great T-shirt.
booze for bison.
yeah. So he continued though, and realized not only with Custer State Park, but like I said, got us in 1919. Didn't stop there. He was like, okay, we got this. Now what? We need someone for them to stay. So he got the state game lodge going. They need to be able to drive. So he walked and rode horse on the Needles Highway and Iron Mountain Road, and mapped them. And the engineers said both roads were crazy because he had come to the spires here, and then he met Scoville Johnson, who said, "Give me enough dynamite, I got your back." And they got the needles. And then he also looked at Iron Mountain Road, because Iron Mountain Road has a huge elevation change.
Yeah.
And that's how the Pigtail Bridges came to be, is their solution to
Really?
the elevation changes was to create these winding roads that brought you down. And then Norbeck's next idea was, we need something to attract people down here. Let's put some faces on some rocks. And originally it was supposed to be the needles. That's what they wanted to carve into like Lewis and Clark and George Washington. So you drove through all these American legends. But Gutzon Borglum declared the needles were bad rock for that, and he found Mount Rushmore, and that story ended up there.
Oh, so he was like trying to get these Mount Rushmore carved here. And
yeah, so different characters, but here, and then Gutzon Borglum said, the rock wasn't right for what he wanted to do. He found Mount Rushmore, and then he said it should be more American and iconic, our founding fathers, and that's how it became the presidents. But Norbeck was involved in that as well.
Oh,
That
very
is so
cool.
cool.
Very cool. Great history there. And you said you're a kind of a history buff yourself.
I'm a history nut. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You and I'll get along a lot. Very well.
Yeah.
So getting back to the bison, or we should say buffalo, over 400 to 500 calves are born each year. Is that true?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. Some of the other notable animals in the park: elk, coyote, mule deer, white-tailed deer, mountain goats, prairie dogs, bighorn sheep, river otters, pronghorns. What's a pronghorn?
It's a pronghorn antelope. The fastest land mammal in North America. They can get up to speeds of 60 miles an hour.
Really?
Yeah. If you travel around the prairie here, Wyoming, you'll see them. They're the light tan with the white bellies.
Okay.
Oh, we did see them.
Yeah, we
okay.
did.
We saw that on the wildlife loop, I think.
Yep,
so.
that's where you would see them. Yep.
Okay. Cougars, too, which I didn't expect that one.
Yep.
Do they mean the ladies?
Wait, hold on. Wait.
The button.
I punched the wrong one.
I
don't
think
know.
that's
You
what he was
made a
looking for.
button. You
I
have you
know.
over here.
So yeah, cougars up in the mountains, I guess.
Yeah, we have a healthy mountain lion population out here, and we actually collared them a while ago to see how many we have, but very hard to see. In my 10 years solid of living here, I've only seen a couple.
Wow.
So,
Are they on the smaller side then?
No. They
Okay.
No.
Okay. And then we also have Pharaoh burrows, and we saw that on the wildlife trail, I believe, too.
Yeah, their story actually started up here. So actually on the lake, before we were a state park, there was a beautiful lodge here. Tourism has an early history. In the 1890s, the Reeder family built a beautiful Victorian lodge right here on the lake, and they actually built the lake and had a stagecoach service from Custer up here and brought people up here, very wealthy people, and just wined and dined them and had a good time. And they also offered burro rides up to Black Elk Peak to go up to highest point. And the burros brought people up there. And then in the 1920s, when the business kind of went under, along with a lot of the economy, they let them loose in the park. And now we have a burro population. So,
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
okay.
really neat.
Yeah.
Let's see. There are 3 famous drives. You know what?
Oh, there it is.
yeah.
But don't take the drive. Did you not read
No.
my list?
No. I'm not going to go into details. We're just
Okay.
going to make it a point. So there are 3 famous drives inside the park. We're going to talk about these. So I'm not going to go into
Okay.
detail.
Good
We got
job.
the Needles Highway, the Wildlife Loop, and the Iron Mountain Parkway, which we'll talk a lot about.
Yep.
The Peter Norbeck Center is listed on the National Registration of Historic Places.
Yeah, so the Peter Norbeck Center was built by the Civilian Conservation Corps, the CCC, in the 1930s. They did a ton of work in this park, and we could, as with most parks, Kansas State would not be anywhere where we are without the CCC. But they built it as the museum. In the 70s, it became the visitor center. And then in the 2016, it changed over to the Children's Center because we built the new visitor center at the time because we see about 2.4 million visitors a year, and the Norbeck just could not handle the amount of people coming in asking questions. And so we built the main visitor center in a new location where it could capture people and give them that information. And it's only a mile away from the Peter Norbeck. And we're like, what do we do with this beautiful building? Because it's a gorgeous building. If no one's been there, go there. It's beautiful. And someone said we should have a place for kids to go. They don't get to go outside, and sometimes the park seems like a big scary place. And this is that bridge for that, where they get to go pretty much destroy everything in that building. It's really cool. We built it so they can flip things. There's no rhyme or reason. It's for kids to discover and explore.
Very cool.
And it makes the outdoors available for them.
Now, is this this visitor center here? I'm not even sure if they call this a visitor center, but here in Sylvan Lake, is that
Nope, that's the gift shop.
But that's fairly new too, isn't it? Look brand new.
It is. Yeah. So Sylvan Lake, as you will see through probably your top 10 and in our talking, is considered the crown jewel of Custer State Park. With that name, it's also the most popular place in Custer State Park. So it's getting hammered. So a number of years ago, we did a master plan for this area of how to protect it so it will always stay this beautiful, because the lake was suffering, the trails were suffering, and how do we manage the carrying capacity? And so that's where, like right here, this is part of that on the new deck we have here. This used to be on the lake, so it caused a lot of people to be down there, so we moved it up. In the course of that, we realized that the gift shop, which had been built in the 50s, had no foundation or anything like that. So it was pretty much rotting from the bottom up.
Oh, no.
And so we decided to build that and make it more sustainable and not impact. And so the trails are getting done. We're doing boardwalk around the lake. Actually, that's one of the cool ones. That lake hike you talked about. We're actually going to do boardwalk and kind of a stair step on the back to protect the water sources back there. So you're going to see a lot of changes up here. There's been a lot of changes up here, and it's just to protect the area.
That's exciting. I've got 2 more left, and we can get in the top 10. So movies that have been filmed here in Custer State Park. Now, I find it hard to believe there hasn't been one since 1970, but I'll ask you that in a minute. So The Last Hunt in 1956, How the West Was Won in 1962, and A Man Called Horse in 1970. No other films since 1970?
No, that's wrong.
Yeah, that is totally wrong.
National Treasure, too.
Oh, yeah, of course.
There's a city of gold underneath this lake.
That's right.
That's right.
Yes.
Where were you, Randy Beheimer?
Well, it didn't say that.
Well, they were
Whoa.
wrong.
Well, we need to
Yeah.
write.
The
I can't
internet
remember.
is
That was
false.
wrong. Yeah.
So I should know that you would know every film that Nicolas Cage. She's got
I love
this.
Nicolas
Say,
Cage.
I was here then as a seasonal. I did not
really?
get to meet Nicolas Cage. John Voight came because we had to block traffic right up here.
Yeah.
And John Voight came and said hi to us. And that was like the
Oh,
highlight
awesome.
of our day.
That is so cool.
But
Well,
yeah.
she has like an attraction to Nicolas Cage. I'm like,
think
I don't
he's a
get it.
good-looking guy.
I don't know
I
that.
do.
Oh,
I know.
So, no, that movie is a great movie. Just for all the listeners out
Sure.
there, Sylvan Lake is not behind Mount Rushmore. That is Hollywood.
Right.
But they did use Sylvan Lake, and the rock probably right behind me that you can't see through the trees is actually the rock where they found the lever to drain the lake.
Yes, the magical lever.
Now,
I
any
remember
other
that.
movies that they missed here?
Not any big movies. We're on BBC, National Geographic, Netflix. All
Sure.
of those ones a lot. But
And
no.
RV Destinations podcast.
That's
Yeah,
right,
yes.
which is like the biggest of them all.
There you go.
Really.
Exactly. And then the last one I've got is U.S. President Calvin Coolidge and his wife Grace vacation at Custer State Park for several weeks during the summer of 1927.
That was another Norbeck thing. He was trying to get that attention out here and get Mount Rushmore on the national scale. And he had worked with Coolidge for a bill at the time and talked him into coming out for a couple weeks just to go. He said, the fishing's phenomenal. And got him out here, and they stocked the fishing and fenced it off, so he had really good luck fishing. And he fell in love with the area and decided that 3-week vacation turned into 3 months. And so the game lodge got outfitted. They built the Grace Coolidge General Store there to house the staff and later turned to the general store. And his office was in Rapid, but it's also where he declared he would not run for president again, was down here in the
Gotcha.
hills.
Wow.
I did read that. I cut that part
Yeah.
out, but yeah, that's amazing. So that brings me to another question before we start.
You have
start in
so
the top
many
10.
questions.
It's so fascinating.
I
This
know,
is
and
such a cool
I
place.
can talk, so this could be a problem.
No, so I assume the lake is stocked. There's a hatchery or something that stocks the lake.
Yeah, Rapid has a hatchery, and so we do stock the lakes in the streams with trout.
We just learned a lot about that out in Durango.
Yeah,
we
we
were in
went
Durango.
to a fish hatchery there and learned. I had no idea
Yeah.
that
Is a thing?
it is a thing that the fish can't reproduce quick enough for people that
For
fish,
fish, right.
so they have to produce them and then stock.
I always
everything.
thought it was like someone that owns some land. They've got a whatever acre lake, and they're just like, I want to put some fish in it. So you go there and get it. I didn't realize that like rivers, they're like they have to
Yes.
put it in rivers.
rivers and lakes.
Yeah,
and,
you want to provide that opportunity and people to be successul. So
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to give them the fish.
Yep.
All right, well that wraps up my part. So now I just
Okay.
sit back
Now
and
it's my
watch
turn?
you guys.
Okay, good. All right, so we've got the top 10 things to do in Custer State Park. And this was my list, and I'm sure it's going to be vastly different than yours. But I wrote it, so. But I always say, number 10, start at the visitor center, any of the visitor center. And there's several visitor centers throughout the park. Where would you suggest somebody starting? First time ever coming to Custer, they want to hit up one of the visitor parks. Where would you say?
You are my person. I always say
Really?
that. And I
Yeah.
operate visitor centers, but I always say that to people. I'm like, start at the visitor
Yes.
centers. And the main visitor center. That's why I tell all our gate folks, our entrance folks, when a person comes in, send them to the visitor center. The staff have time to talk there. That's where the maps are, the information. They are going to get you orientated and give you a ton of information. So that's a great place to start. Here at Custer State Park, we do have 3 visitor centers, 2 historic sites, and 1 the outdoor education center. So we're well stocked. But the main visitor center is a great place to start. And then what we've done with our visitor centers is we tell chapters of the story. We don't tell the whole story
okay.
because we're encouraging people to go to the next center to learn the next story.
Yeah.
And so, the main VC is going to give you an overarching view, get you orientated, get that, that adventure going. Wildlife Station Visitor Center is going to tell you about the wildlife, the prairie, that. The Bison Center, which is our newest one, I'm just going to tell you about the bison in the
Yeah.
park. And then the Gordon Stockade tells you the history. Badger Clark Historic Site tells you a little bit more about the history. And Badger Clark, South Dakota's first poet laureate. And then the Outdoor Education Center is to go run the kiddos.
Oh, that is awesome.
yeah.
I love that. I love and they're scattered throughout the park. So
Yes.
it's great too because it really encourages people to get out there and explore the park versus just going from one building to the next.
Well, that's it. And you mentioned it too, is, we come from the beautiful spires here to the prairie, and there's so much to see and such a diversity of the park that you can't just go to one area.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Now we saw the I think it was the Buffalo Educational Center on the wildlife list. So that's one of the ones we're talking about here.
Yes, the Bison Center. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. That one was built in 2022. We had a donation from the Helmsley Foundation, which was amazing. And so we got to build that building. It was really cool.
Oh, so it's very, very new.
It is very new. Yeah, it was a neat story. We were working with one of the families during COVID. They needed a project for Girl Scouts, and we were short staffed. We were like, I don't know, and we were like, oh, let's have them paint the corral system that sees millions of people.
Yeah.
This is great. So we were down there having a great time, and they noticed that people came down there and saw the corrals and had no clue what they were about, and that's a big part of our story. And he called a couple weeks later and said, Lydia, can we set up a meeting? I want to talk about donating some money to help with the interpretation down there. So I'm thinking signs. I'm like, great. Yeah, let's do that. And so we met up, and we're talking, and I'm going through the signs. He goes, Lydia, I'm thinking bigger. And I said, okay, what are you thinking? He goes, how much does the visitor center cost? And I said, about $7 million. And he goes, I'm thinking that. And I'm like,
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to have to get back to you.
Excuse me while I pass out for a moment.
And so, yeah, that's what happened. Now we got $5.5 million, and we were able to build a beautiful center, and it was just amazing. So
What a great
Oh,
story.
How
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I
Yeah.
love that.
So
Okay, so number 9 on the list is so incredibly cool. Had no idea it existed until we drove by it. Catch a play at Custer State Park. Yes, you can catch a play here at the Black Hills Playhouse.
Yes,
So
yes.
what is the story behind this?
So that was a project from the 1940s. The University of South Dakota brought out, and they had a tent at Legion Lake and provided an opportunity for visitors to see this. And it has morphed into the Black Hills Playhouse, and they do an amazing job there. And I can say it because I just went there last week.
Oh my gosh.
I brought my kids there to, I forget the play. It all fell apart. And it was amazing. My kids laughed through the whole thing of it. And it is. They do an excellent job. And I've gone to plays in big cities, and the Black Hills Playhouse does a great job, and they're a good partner here in the park.
That's
So,
amazing.
yeah.
And
I'm really
they're
sad we're not going to get
I
a chance to
know.
go to one. I
Like,
really
see,
am.
you got to come back.
We got to
Yeah,
come
for
back.
sure.
Right.
For sure.
Because
So-
I mean that like when we drove by that and I saw the sign, I was like, wait a second, what?
Yeah.
You know, and then I'm like, I'm in your guidebook and I'm looking through and I'm like, babe, there is a playhouse here. Like
Yeah.
we can see a play in Custer
And
State
it
Park.
is not just like a high school play. I'm not sounding like 'cause I'm here in the park, but I do I've gone to plays. I've gone like Wicked and all those ones, and I would go to a Black Hills Playhouse just as much as I'd go drive to Minneapolis or Denver to see a play. They do a great job.
That
So,
is awesome.
Yeah.
That is so cool. Now, do you have to have, and I can't remember if I read this right or not, do you still have to have your Custer State Park pass
Yes.
and pay the fee to go see the Playhouse?
Yes, you are
Okay.
in Custer State Park.
Okay.
And that's when sometimes some people do get confused. They're like, well, we're going to the Playhouse. Well, yes, but the Playhouse is in the park.
Yeah.
And so those fees stay and help with the infrastructure of the Playhouse. The building, fun fact, that's an old CCC camp, one of the big camps down there. And that we go and help with the infrastructure there. So those fee dollars coming back and helping provide that opportunity.
Well, we
Yeah.
should say at this point that the park, now we're shooting this in, what month are we in? June of 2024.
Yes.
And the park fee is $20, and that gives you a week, right?
Yes,
a
7
week in the
days.
park. Or it's $35 for the annual pass. Is that what I remember?
36.
36, okay.
Yes.
So,
Yep.
and
That's a
check the,
great deal.
depending on when you're, thinking about visiting, of course, check prices and all that, but $20 for 7 days, that's nothing.
No, I mean, and you get to come and go, or you can stay in the park and everything like that. So, yeah, no, I think it's a good deal.
Yeah, I do too. That's a great deal. All right. So number 8 is take a ride. And there's a couple ways to get out and take a ride. So whether you're doing like a multi-use trail for hikers and bikers, and actually as we started this morning, I saw a huge group of bikers take off on the road. So bikers can use roadways throughout the parks, and are there trails that they can use as well?
Yep. So most of our trails are multi-use, like you mentioned. So the mountain biking, horseback riding, hiking, any of those. UTVs are only on roads. That's a big
Okay.
one here in our
Okay.
park. If it has a green sign, you can drive it. Otherwise, no. And so all of those trails are that. The only places horses aren't allowed are in our watersheds. So along the creeks or up here at Sylvan, actually, because we want to protect the watersheds. But those are excellent opportunities. For biking, they can bike on roads. A lot of them do the Needles Highway. Highly recommend doing that early in the morning then before traffic gets crazy, because those roads are narrow.
Yes.
I watch them and they seem like they're having a good time, but I usually have a heart attack watching them because I'm like, that's a really narrow road.
It's so narrow.
But you can that opportunity for horseback riding as well. You don't have to stick to the trail here in the park.
Really?
You can do disperse, and same with hiking. You can go do disperse hiking or horseback riding. If we do that, do recommend, here we strongly, and they're not, benefiting from this, but Avenza is a great app because you don't need self-service. And that if you guys have been here long enough, self-service is spotty at best in the park. And so it goes off GPS. So if you do get turned around, you can find yourself on your phone and come out. But you can go explore the hidden gems of the park.
That's fabulous. And then for the horseback riding, so tours are available here through the park. Can you also bring in your own horse?
Yes.
Okay.
And so both of those, we do offer rides down at Bluebell, and the resort company does a great job of pairing you up, and you get to see a lot of history, go through the CCC camps down there, and they do anything from like a 30-minute hour ride to a full day ride.
Oh, wow.
And so you can hit all levels. You can bring your own horses in as well. We do have a horse camp here in the park. If you want to camp with your horses, you do have to have your certifications in weed-free hay. But we do have that opportunity as well.
That's fabulous. I love that.
Yeah.
All right. So number 8 is go for a swim.
Yes.
And I know that Sylvan Lake behind us is the popular destination. Like, again, we've been set up in this area for a couple hours. I'm seeing people going into the little gift store over here and putting on their bathing suits and getting life vests and heading off to the lake. But they can swim at any of the lakes, and there's 5 different lakes in the park?
4.
4 lakes.
Sylvan, Legion, Center, and Stockade. So all of them offer great opportunities. I can list them off according to the Austin boys.
Okay.
So the Austin boys will say Center Lake's the best because it's the clearest and they have the best beach and there's a playground there. Legion's next because the food's really good and you can grab, mom will buy them food. And there's a playground there and the beach is really good and that lake's warmer. And you can also rent paddle boats and canoes, which we've done there. And they get in paddleboard fights. So they like that. Sylvan is their third. And the only reason for that one is it's cold. We're at a higher mountain lake, and it does get chillier up here. And then they are tempted to jump off the rocks up here, and that's not allowed, and mom will yell at them. So they don't like that. And then the Stockade's a good lake. It does have a good beach and a playground there. But there's boats and stuff like that. So they usually like the other ones because they can just have free reign. So those are the 4 lakes according to the Austin boys.
So jumping off the rocks is illegal.
It
is illegal up here because they don't go straight down. There's a lot of shelves and stuff. And we do have rescues up here from folks jumping off. And so as tempting and fun as it looks, this lake is not the one to do it at. Make sure and there's plenty of places to go and to do that. Just make sure you know what you're jumping into before you jump.
Sure.
So,
yeah. So on the whole lake theme, the next one is just get on the water. And you've got kayak and canoe and paddleboard rentals. And are those available on all the 4 lakes?
Nope. Those are only available at Sylvan Lake and Legion Lake. Just because the gift shops are right there on the water's edge. And both are excellent lakes to do that. Sylvan's a lot of fun because you get to go paddle between all those rocks and view that. So that's a great opportunity there.
That's fabulous. And then if I want to bring in my own kayak or canoe or paddleboard, that's good to go. And I can bring those in. Okay.
Yep.
Fabulous. And then I think I read too that all of the, or maybe that's my next one, that all of the streams, all of the waterways you can fish.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Excellent fishing opportunity like we were talking about. Trout's the big one. Rainbow trout, brown trout, brook trout. Stockade is you're going to pick up like bluegill, perch, and those fish over there, but trout's going to be your main catch here.
All right, and then people need to make sure they get their fishing license.
Yes, and you can get that like in town. Some of the resorts offer it. Honestly, the best way in my mind, because I have 2 boys and I take them fishing, I get the app and I just put it on the app
perfect.
because then if the game warden comes and stops me, I can just show them right there. I always have my phone. and it updates it. So like I have mine set because I'm a South Dakotan. It'll set up yearly, and so I don't even have to remember it. It just automatically renews for me, and can do that. So that's also, that app is where you can make your camping reservations, fishing, hunting, any of those on there. It'll also be here because we do offer programming here in the park. We have like a fly fishing workshop. We just did an archery workshop. We have rock climbing and things like that. We are going to get that on the app as well, so you can find your spot.
Yeah,
and get that.
So I didn't even put that on the list. I forget which center we stopped by, but I stopped by one of the several visitor centers that you talked about, and there was this whole like display on the wall of all the different activities that are offered, and things like live music.
Yep.
Like there's live music in the park. I had no idea.
Yep.
And
we do that because honestly, because we'll sit around and say, what should we do? And we're like, having music with an adult beverage on a lake. That just sounds pretty
perfect.
Good.
Right.
And so we do that at Legion Lake and stuff. And so, and like I said, we're encouraging people to get excited about the outdoors and maybe making that step of, we have like intro to rock climbing at the Norbeck Center, and some people are like, that looks really cool, but how do I even start that? And so we can show them like, here's the equipment, here's how you do it, here's someone you can go with, and we can do that intro. We have intro to fishing. You know, a lot of families want to go fishing, but I don't want to take my kids. Here's the intro to fishing, and we introduce you to that. And so we have, I think, almost 20 to 30 programs daily in the summer season. We have 10 seasonal staff who run wild, and they do a wonderful job.
That is amazing. Yep. See, this is why Custer State Park is so cool.
Yeah, so much fun.
We're totally coming back again. I'm just putting that out there now.
But you know what? To me, and I don't know if I can verbalize this correctly, but it doesn't feel. It still feels small.
It does.
It feels welcoming. It's not like this huge, massive
like
national
Yellowstone
park
is overwhelming.
Right.
We were talking about that the other day because we were sitting on the Wildlife Loop Road, and they're like, "What makes this park special?" And we were saying, "Is it's that national park feel, but we're still a state park.
Yes.
So we still feel like your neighborhood park.
Yes,
but we have that national park feel.
Right,
yeah.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Because you allow a lot of things here that a national park does not allow, like dogs, hiking,
dogs on trails.
Yes,
even drones. You allow drones even in the park, which is a big no-no in national parks.
Yes.
So I mean, there's a lot of really cool. The requirements are just a lot looser.
It's those different mandates. National Park Service is preservation. Forest Service is visitor use, and as I say at Custer State Park, is we have that ability to kind of steal, like, that's a great idea, we'll take that one. That's a great idea, we'll take that one, and we're able to blend it all.
That's right.
So,
Booze for bison.
Booze for bison. It's my new motto in life. I
got it all that time.
That's exciting. All right, so 5 is take a scenic drive. There are so many beautiful scenic drives throughout the park, and the 3 main ones. You've got the Needles Highway, you've got the Iron Mountain, and then the Wildlife Trail. What are your favorites?
Oh, that's a loaded
question.
It depends on the day.
You can't ask her that. It's like asking what your favorite child is.
Oh, that's easy. No.
It really does depend on what you want to see.
Yeah.
I mean, like, if you're here for that wildlife viewability, obviously the Wildlife Loop Road, that's where you're going to find the bison herd, the antelope, the deer, the burro herd will be down there. It's an 18-mile loop and takes you through the heart of the prairie. Again, have a dose of patience. You will run into a buffalo jam. I had a visitor stuck for an hour and a half in a buffalo jam yesterday. And he was like, I'm enjoying it, but is it okay? And I was like, it's okay. And so, keep that in mind down in there. Needles Highway. That's the beautiful one. I like taking it in the fall just because it is quieter and the colors are up there. I like, and personally would go from Legion Lake up to Sylvan because you're coming up into the Spires formations. But that's one where Norbeck really wanted people to experience it. And you're literally going through spires at some points, and you get that view about it. One of my favorite quotes from Peter Norbeck is, you're not supposed to go 60 miles an hour through this park. You're supposed to go 25 miles an hour or less, or even better, get out and walk.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think the needle slows you down enough that you're channeling that and you're getting to see the park and experience that.
Right,
So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when we got here, the first 2 days we got here, it was cloudy, drizzly, foggy, and we did the Iron Mountain Road.
Ooh.
And had all these overlooks, couldn't see anything.
Yeah.
And we're like, we bet this is really beautiful. So then
we saw nothing.
And then drove it again and then had no idea that there's areas you can see Mount Rushmore.
Norbeck. Yep.
Yeah.
Again, he did that. And so he wanted the tunnels to perfectly frame Mount Rushmore, yet you had that elevation gain, so you got the cool pigtail bridges. And I'm sure the engineers just ripped their hair out building that road. But that's another one that, again, I would start in the park and go up to Mount Rushmore, because that's where you get the viewability of the memorial, and you're going up. And then like the Forest Service has some of those lookouts or grizzly bear picnic areas, so you can get out and have a picnic and just make that an opportunity. And all of those roads are actually part of the Peter Norbeck Scenic Byway. And so if you're ever, some folks really do like, that's a check off for them, is the scenic byways, and that's an opportunity.
Now only part of the Iron Mountain Road is actually in Custer, correct? It connects basically Custer with Mount Rushmore National Park.
Correct. Yep. And at the time, that was part of the state park, but when Norbeck got the memorials going, we land swapped and did a chunk, so it ended up being half and half.
Yeah, my personal opinion, if you only have time to do one drive, I would highly recommend the Needles.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all beautiful. They all have their own thing, but I wouldn't miss the Needles. You
The
can't come
Needles
out
takes
here.
you through the heart of the park. Yes.
And I think what kind of Custer is almost known for, you know, that, like you said, the heart.
The Sylvan Lake and then the spires. I mean, that's what they're known for.
Mm-hmm. All right, so number 4, and we got to do this, is Dine Among the Pines, and it's the Chuck Wagon ride and Chuck Wagon dinner.
Yes.
And that was super fun.
Isn't that fun? And they take you down into the canyon down there, and you get to see a lot. Yeah, and that's an opportunity, and it's a fun family opportunity, too, for you just to relax. It can be family, it can be couples, and actually do good food for a Chuck Wagon.
Yeah, the steak was great.
The steak was huge. It was cooked perfectly. All the side dishes were really good.
It was a top sirloin, right? And anytime I hear top sirloin, it's like, okay, they're trying to save a little money, and it's not going to be the best, but I thought it was amazing.
So good. It was
and with the amount of people they serve, too, I'm with you. I'm like, they're just going to slap it on there, and just like, here you go.
Here's a piece of leather.
Yeah. So
Right.
Yeah, it was delicious. And then it was really cool. Not that you guys planned this on purpose, but thank you for doing it. A couple bison showed up in the distance.
Yep.
So they were just kind of chilling off out there. And I was like, this is great. I love this. I'm glad that the park sent them in.
They got the memo for the morning. So a couple other ones, though, that I'll tie on, because that one's a great one, is the lodges do offer their own thing. You and I were talking about being history nerds. The Game Lodge is one of my favorites. One, because, again, tied to my grandfather. He used to have a whiskey up there, and I remember that story. But you can sit up there and have an adult beverage or a really good meal. And I always sit there and sit on the porch going, Calvin Coolidge sat here and looked at the same view I'm looking at. And it's just, I always get that's a cool feeling of just the people who have sat on this porch and seen what I'm seeing and experienced that.
Right.
So that's also a great one. Legion's a great fried chicken burger, grab and go. But Sylvan up here was meant to be the high class fancy meal.
Okay.
This is the one where ladies went in pearls, they dressed up, and they came up in here, and it has an excellent view of the lake and the Black Elk Mountain. And so that's a neat experience as well. So, but
really
you tie it into events too. One we're trying to I'm diversing. I hope that's okay.
Oh, of course.
But this fall we're gonna try something new and do a murder mystery dinner at the Game Lodge.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Because we were talking about a historic Game Lodge, and I was reading a postcard because I operate the archives here. So I found this postcard from this lady, and they had like a 1920s band in the Game Lodge, and this is what started. I'm like, could you imagine dressing up in 1920s, going to the Game Lodge with a band, and the Game Lodge jumped. So we're doing like a 5-course meal of champagne, 1920s feel, and doing this murder mystery, and hopefully it'll become a thing because it's really cool.
Oh my gosh, that would be amazing.
Yeah. So we have no more time left this year, baby. I'm sorry. Next year for sure.
I know. We're gonna plan this out because one of the things coming up, I absolutely 1,000,000% want to come back and do. And then that's number 2. But right now we're at number 3, which is see the wildlife. And there is obviously a lot of wildlife in the park. I know we've talked about that some. And the best place to see it, would you agree, is the Wildlife Loop Trail?
I would. I mean, that's going to be your best opportunity. And the Wildlife Loop Road takes you in there. The beautiful thing about the park is you are here with about 2 other million people looking for the wildlife. And so we usually know right where they're at. So if there's ever a day like, hey, I really want to make this is my bucket list, stop at a visitor center. They can give you reports of where everybody's at, and you can make that experience. But they have the gravel roads, the Wildlife Loop Road, and you can just get out there and experience it. And it's always fun. And I always remind myself of that too, because, like I got stuck in the bison jam a week ago, and I was sitting there going, I got a meeting, I got to go. But I'm like, just enjoy it. And I'm like, oh, you know what? This is really pretty. So I set my window down, and I was like, okay, this is my park. I'm enjoying this. And I looked up, and there was this kid in the front. He's like, do you see this? And I didn't see it. I was a park ranger, and he was so excited to see it and share it with me that we were stuck in the bison jam. I'm like, okay, this is cool. All right, I remember why I'm here. So.
Sometimes you got to pinch yourself to realize,
right.
Because you do naturally as humans, I think, you take advantage of you don't take advantage, but you become complacent.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're like, you see it every day, but then a moment like that reminds you, like, I'm here.
Yeah,
this is
that's
amazing.
the first time that little kid got to see
and he
a
wanted
bison.
to share it.
Right.
Yeah.
He was just like,
We had, I want to share this real quick. Like, I think we've done it on a different podcast, but we had a spiritual experience with bison in Yellowstone.
Oh my gosh.
We were coming back from a trail or some ride or something, and it was dark. We got back a lot later, and all these cars were stopped. So we pull over and stop, and we can't see any bison, but we hear their
sound.
Would it be a moo? I don't even know what that would
and
be.
then just
Grunts
the
and everything like
snorting.
that. Yeah.
So we all sat in our cars with the windows down, shut off all the
Stars
engines.
in the sky, and just
and you
listen
just
to
heard
them.
like
Yep.
all these and the scuffling of their feet, and you had no idea where they were, but you knew they were right there.
It was honestly one of the coolest
Yeah.
experiences we had at Yellowstone. Of course, go see all the things there, but that was just really cool. So I assume you could probably do that here on the Wildlife Loop if you can find them.
Yeah. No, that'd be a great one on the Wildlife Loop Road in the morning. The night sky. Oh, yeah. On the Wildlife Loop Road, it's beautiful. So, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
and the
cool.
park is open 24/7, right?
It is open 24/7. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fabulous. Okay, so number 2 is what I really want to come back and do, and that's the Buffalo Roundup.
Oh, yes.
This sounds amazing. And this was really cool when I looked into this. The park purposely does the Buffalo Roundup to not only help the buffalo, but also help the park, because the park can only sustain naturally about 1,400, 1,500 buffalo?
Yep, that's what we can summer. It's about 1,500 buffalo. And when you think about that too, and that's one of the beautiful things I think about Custer State Park is we have a great team for this. It's not just the buffalo that use the prairie. We have the elk, the pronghorn, the burros, the deer, the prairie dogs need grasslands. And so they do a ton of work in making sure that we're not only protecting that, but we have healthy grasslands.
Yeah.
Healthy grasslands equal healthy wildlife. And so our numbers flow. It won't always be 1,400. If we're in a drought, we may drop that number down really low to protect the grasslands and the animal. And we've been doing that since the 60s.
Wow.
And even before that, a little bit more loosely, but 60s when we really formalized and started doing the roundup and auctioning the animals off. And then in the 90s, someone caught wind of it, and it went from a couple hundred people on a hill watching it to, I think we had 22,000 visitors last year.
Gosh.
And so it's a thing that the herdsman always gives me a hard time. He goes, I have the easy job. I have to round up buffalo. You round up 22,000 people. And I was like, yeah.
And there's like a festival, kind of like a festival
then,
around it.
Yeah,
now?
once we started realizing people were coming, we wanted them to stay for the weekend for the local economy. And we started an arts festival. When I took over for it in 2016, we had 80 vendors. We already have 162 vendors this year.
Oh my gosh.
And so we do hot air balloons. We have music, food. It is a weekend. It is a lot of fun. It's kind of the last hurrah for the hills. A lot of the communities close down after that. But it is a blast. If you can't, I always tell people you should go. We do live stream it, but as you were kind of talking about that experience, that's what it reminded me of, is people ask if I get tired of the roundup. And there's times where it's inevitable. It's like, this is work and it's a lot of work. You're putting 80 hours in a week. And, but that morning, that morning of roundup is actually my moment, because one, it's going no matter what I do.
Right. It's going to happen.
The ball is rolling down the hill. So I'm done. So I can breathe a little, but, we're out there at 2 a.m. to start parking people.
Oh my gosh.
And, you're out there in the prairie, the sun's coming up. The coyotes are going. You can hear the buffalo off in the distance often. The horses are getting going, and it's usually beautiful stars. And it's just like, this is a magical place.
Yeah.
It just touches your heart then. And you're about ready to make people's lives. I mean, a lot of them, it's their bucket list, and they come back because they enjoy it, or they heard about it and they want to come see it. And it's about to be a special day.
Yeah.
2025, baby. We'll be coming back from
2025,
Alaska, and we'll just stop here on the way back.
Oh, an inside source now, so we can make the special. So
That's awesome.
I'm so excited.
That's
excited.
awesome.
Okay, so we do this thing. So bear with us here.
All right, so we're going to get to the number one, right?
We are.
All right.
We are. Ready?
250 strands of light. Drum roll, please.
And the number one thing to do while you're staying here in Custer State Park is
take a hike.
Yes, of course.
Get out and see this. There's so many great hikes throughout the park. tell us some about your favorites or ones that you would kind of recommend, maybe for a first timer coming in.
Yeah, I can do a variety of that, but this ties into that quote that I just said with Norbeck. He says, you go 25 or less, or even better, get out and walk, and you just nailed it. Get out and walk. There's so much to see here in the park, and we have hikes from down in the prairie to the mid levels, all up here to the Sylvan Lake area, and there's something for everyone. Again, we'll do the Austin Boy run here. Their favorite is Sunday Gulch. Sunday Gulch has the waterfall, though, so it's strenuous. So that one is the one where most rescues happen. So keep that in mind when you're planning.
So we've done it twice. We did it many years ago, and we both remembered there being some. We did it clockwise. I recommend everybody clockwise.
I go clockwise. Yeah.
A lot of people go counterclockwise. We recommend clockwise. At least Caly and I do. But we remembered, it seemed like rock scaling at the end. And this time we did it this time. Again, that was 5 years ago. We did it the first time. This time coming up, we just did that first part. I'm like, I remember it much more intense than this.
I'm like, babe, there's still more. He's like,
and then you hike like a quarter mile more, and then you hit the good stuff. And I'm like, okay, this is what I remember.
And we had our golden doodle puppy with us. She's 9 months old. And she was a champion. I mean, she kind of made it look easy. I was like,
we take the 2 huskies, and one of them pulls you up those, and I'm like, stop.
I'm like, I need a second.
Yeah, but clockwise is the way to go. That's the way I enjoy going, because you're going up the waterfall, so it's not so daunting, and it's just a beautiful experience. The next one would be the other one up here is Little Devil's Tower. And I actually enjoy that one. Again, it's a strenuous one because you're doing some rock scrambling at the end. But you get up on the rocks and you have the vista of the spires and Black Elk Peak. A lot of people like going up to the peak. The peak's beautiful. Don't get me wrong, but I love being able to see the peak and the spires. So those would be the 2 hard ones I'd recommend. Again, those are the top 2 would be for my kids. After that would be Lover's Leap. And that's down in the main thoroughfare 16A. It's 4 miles, but you go straight up and then you just follow the ridge and then you're straight down. And so it's just it's long, but it's just a nice, easy hike. Has some excellent views of everything, and it's just a fun one. And then, of course, like the Prairie Trail. Prairie Trail is going to take you through the heart of the bison. That one you do have to watch out for bison. It's their park when you're out there. Remember that. We always say,
do not pet the fluffy cow. Stay away from the animals.
We always say the rule of thumb, and I'm sure you guys have visited parks and did it where you hold your thumb out, and if you can cover it, that's a great one to teach children. Because children will keep you in line. Like, especially me, like, Mom, you're too close. I'm like, I know, I got us. But they'll do that. But the Prairie Trail, I mean, you're going to see all the wildflowers down there and just see the Prairie Trail. And those are the great ones. But
Cathedrals Trail, we got to talk about that. That was a beautiful trail.
Cathedrals is a great one too. Yes, and that one's fun because it goes and then you go straight up for that little jog, and then it takes you right into the heart of the cathedral spires. All of them are good. I was trying to think of the top ones on there, so all of them are good. And honestly, you mentioned our guide. The Tatanka is a great magazine to grab before you come. It lists the hikes of it has it in a chart. Like, I want to see waterfalls, or I want to see the spires, and you can go and figure out what you want to do, and then it gives you the strenuous. They're all on Avenza again, so you can figure out where you are. I like that because, again, by the rules of Austin, my legs are tired halfway through, and you can be like, oh, I only got like a quarter mile of the hike. So that helps out as well. But
and that's a decision tree type thing, and it was really cool. She pointed that out while we were driving, and you get that magazine when you check in and pay your fee, right?
Yes, yep. Or you can download it from our website if you want to have it before you come, and then you get it when it's here. And it's a book, but it has everything. It has the Playhouse times, how to make reservations. It has how to make camping, where to eat. It has everything you want. And the hikes are great. And don't always think about redoing a hike. Just because you've done it, you could see something different. You can experience something and see something. And it's amazing to share those. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what is your I phrase this to every park ranger we've ever had on the show.
Oh.
So I'm going to, and this, I'm putting you on the spot too. She didn't know I'm going to ask this question. The listeners probably do. But, okay, so if you were retiring tomorrow and never coming back to this area, what are you going to do, or where are you going to go? What moment are you going to spend with this park? Your one last thing in the park.
I'm going to go cry somewhere.
well, yeah.
You're like, this is horrible.
We asked this to a Yellowstone ranger who had been there for 40 years, and he just said, I'm going fishing.
So, honestly, I'm probably going up Little Devil's Tower and having a picnic.
Really?
And bringing an adult beverage up there and just sitting up there and soaking up nature and enjoying the quiet and getting to see the park from that vista. And doing all the memories. I mean, I love hiking. That's one of mine. We go experience that all the time. And yeah, that's probably what I would do. So,
well, and we've had a couple of people suggest us do that hike. We haven't done it. We ran out of time. We want to do one more hike, and we were talking about doing that.
We got to squeeze it in somewhere.
We've got 2 podcasts tomorrow.
Well, then I guess we're hiking tomorrow evening.
So sunrise up there, you have to start like at 3 a.m. But you can go up there, bring a thermos of coffee. Have done this, and you just sit up there and you watch the sunrise come. And Mount Rushmore is right over here. The Spires is here, and you get to see it hit the tower.
Well, maybe you'll do that with me tomorrow because I can't get somebody out of bed before. Well, actually, you are getting out at 6.
If I just stay up and not go to bed, it might be better than trying to wake me up.
You don't want to wake her up in the middle of the night. I learned that like while we were dating.
He's like, let's go watch sunrise. And I'm like, let's not.
Let's not. Oh, there's coffee. We just put coffee up there and you go. But honestly, that's what I would do. And just, like I said, soak it in. There's something special about the park. And like we said at the beginning, it ties in with my family and seeing my kids get to experience what I got to experience. I do think they're spoiled as park ranger children, though, because like the buffalo, they're like, meh, buffalo. Right. This is really cool. But getting to see that wonder and enjoying that. So.
We've covered a lot of ground. Is there anything we've missed about the park that you should let our listeners know about?
I think one of the things to think about is we've kind of gone through the top 10 and stuff, but don't come with expectations. Come ready to change it up. You may come here going to a play, but oh my gosh, I want to go see the wildlife. Or you're coming to go for a hike and you see the Playhouse. Or you want to grab something to eat. The number one question I get is, we didn't know so much was here. We're coming back. Don't try to cram it all in. Try to experience a little bit at a time, and then plan on coming back and experience more at a time and just making those discoveries.
That sounds awesome.
That's perfect.
And we usually talk about RV parks. There are so many RV parks in and around the Black Hills. I mean, there's no even real reason to dive into that.
I mean, you can camp inside the park. You can camp outside of the park. I mean, there's
everything from boondocking to primitive camping to full hookups. It's what you want.
Right. Yeah. Whatever type of experience you want. So check out RV Life Campgrounds. Again, that's a free resource. You can see all the ratings of all the campgrounds in the general area. This time, we were here last time. We stayed up in the Deadwood area, which was really cool. But this time we've stayed on the southern side. Is that a fair statement? So Deadwood's north and we're south, right?
Yep.
Okay. I want to make sure I'm saying that right. And we've really enjoyed this life. Having Custer so close to us. I mean,
it's like in our backyard.
Yeah, I think it was like 11 minutes it took us to get from Custer Gulch up to Sylvan Lake. So that's been really nice to spend so much time here. But thank you so much for joining the show. We really, really appreciate it, and just can't thank you enough. So
thank you for having me. This was fun.
Yeah, we might take you up on the whole bison herding thing.
We will. Absolutely. You will hear from us again.
That sounds perfect.
Remember us from 4 years ago?
We could do podcasts out there because we set up and we do herd tours, and we could just set up another podcast.
That would be awesome.
Except I'm going to be like this.
Yeah.
Hang on, there's buffalo.
She has ADD pretty bad.
Oh, I do. I'm so bad.
She'll squirrel in a moment.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, it's crazy. But you want to take us out, babe?
Yes. So thank you very much, Lydia, for joining us today and sharing some of the best things to do here in the park. I know we talked about 10, and there's so much to do here. So thank you so much. And thank you all out there for joining us today and listening in either by audio or watching us now on YouTube.
Yep.
And please hit the subscribe button below and get out there and subscribe to the podcast and listen to the podcast wherever you listen to your podcast. And I'm Caly, that's Randy and Lydia, and we want to thank you all for listening today and joining us.
Be safe.
Safe travels, y'all.